Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for November 27th, 2024. Well, good morning, everyone. I hope this video finds you on your way, or at least thinking about your holiday plans. I'm going to do kind of a quick morning prep video, and then I am on the road for my holiday plans this morning. First off, let's take a quick look at what happened overnight. We had Asian markets, mostly higher last night. Australia's inflation came in just a little bit less than expected. We had, however, Shanghai had industrial production numbers had fallen by 10% on year over year last year. So a little tiny bit of mix last night. Australian markets were closed up by 0.57. The Nikkei over there in Japan closed down 0.80%. India was up 0.33%, while South Korea was down. Hong Kong, big, strong day to the upside, up 2.32% yesterday, and Shanghai finished up 1.53%. If we take a look at European markets this morning, they're a bit more on the subdued side here today, with a little bit of bearishness in the DAX, down 0.66%. The FTSE is up 0.07%, and the CAC is down 1.33% this morning. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. U.S. futures this morning, well, they are slightly lower here this morning. Right now we've got the Dow futures down 41 points, the S&P 500 futures down 13 points, and the NASDAQ futures down 84 points at this exact second. But as you know, we can get a lot of volatility in this pre-market. I am doing this video earlier than normal. If you take a look at oil markets here this morning, we've got oil bouncing just a little bit higher here today, with that Israel and Lebanon ceasefire, a little bit of easing of tensions over there. Oil is bouncing around a little bit, but right now we've got oil futures up 30 cents a barrel at 69.07 a barrel. Brent crude is also up this morning 37 cents at 73.18 a barrel. And natural gas having a bad morning here this morning. Another big reversal here, but been really whippy in here on natural gas, pulling back this morning about 17.5 cents. If we take a look at precious metals this morning, well, gold, after another day where we just kind of held some support, bouncing up here this morning. We've got gold up $24.90. $24.90 in the gold futures this morning, moving up. Silver is up just slightly this morning after just kind of hanging in here around this area of price support. Both of those charts are showing potential head and shoulders patterns here, as you can see on silver and gold. So you'll want to keep an eye on those. And then if we take a look at copper, copper just a little bit higher here today on COPX, but I got to tell you, there really isn't anything about that chart that is bullish. If you notice our downtrend in here, this actually sets up as a possible short. Platinum is a little bit higher, and palladium just a tiny little bit lower here today on palladium, but keep an eye on that. It's also really stuck in a potential position where we've got the higher low or a lower high. Either one of those scenarios could play out there in palladium. And then if we take a look at our crypto markets here this morning, well, cryptos are bouncing back up from a rough day yesterday. Bitcoin is bouncing up, and right now up $2,273 a coin. Ether is a big reversal from yesterday. Down, it was down over 5% yesterday. Now up $143 a coin, or 4.33%, and we're mostly green in those Bitcoin, not Bitcoin, but crypto markets here this morning. If we take a look at our bond yields are holding nice. They're starting to pull back, and they are continuing that this morning, at least moderating here just a little bit. The 2-year bonds at 4.22%, 10-year bonds are at 4.27%, and those 30-year bonds are coming in at 4.45%. So quite a little bit of easing on that with the reduction in tensions in the Middle East. If we take a look at the result of that, well, one of the results of that are we're seeing those crypto markets zoom up. We're seeing some commodity prices finding some legs to move to the upside, and also we're seeing the US dollar weakening, and that's going to be a good sign here for the market as well, with the US dollar weakening back here just a little bit after coming up here to test this recent high here in the dollar. So keep a close eye on that. So what does that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Wednesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. Let's take a look at these index charts and see if we can figure out how you might want to approach the market for today. Remember, I won't be joining you here today. As soon as this video goes out, I am actually jumping on the road for my holiday plan. So I want to wish everyone all of the best here today. So first off, let's take a look. We made new record highs yesterday in the afternoon, squeezing up after those FOMC minutes came out, but we'll want to watch this pretty closely here. We are up 6 straight days in a row, really stretching this rubber band here in the indexes. Our PE ratios are in the indexes are really high. There's no real bargains, I would say, in the market right now. If we take a look at the diamonds, if of course those bulls find inspiration today in those data points, and we've got a lot of them coming this morning, then every reason to believe more blue sky up here, every reason to believe they could push on higher. However, if the bears were to find some kind of inspiration here on the day, maybe a pushback to test this little bit of support right in here the last 2 days of price action, and if that were to fail, then I would suggest we may come back here and test this area of price support. Beyond that, we might start drifting back down toward this upside trend here in the chart. Of course, a little bit of fear might come into play if that were the case, and a little bit of profit taking might pick up after such a strong move to the upside. If we take a look at our SPY, also squeaked out a new record high yesterday. So if the bulls find inspiration in all the data today, blue sky above, and no reason to believe that's not possible here. Also, big stretch back up to the upside here, and if those bears were to have anything to say, well, maybe a pushback. First, we'll test this area price support. We're already pushing down a little bit this morning on that, but if we break yesterday's low, then we might start looking to come back in here, test a little bit of price support, and maybe this upside trend. Again, that couldn't be too far out of the question or too much of a surprise, just seeing how much we have stretched in such a short period of time. If we take a look at our QQQ, well, hasn't had quite so much success, but it has been moving up, and QQQ has been a big driver for the market here the last couple of days, with big tech doing the majority of the work. Now, if you take a look in here, we've got resistance in this chart right here. So if those bulls can find inspiration today, well, maybe we pop that resistance in here, and that gives us that opportunity to push on up and retest these all-time highs. And then, of course, blue sky above that if they can push on through. And with the amount of data that we have this morning, it is possible, but you will want to consider the fact that there's a lot of folks that won't be trading today, and that we could suffer from a little bit of an anemic market session today. But if those bears were to find any inspiration here, well, you can see it wouldn't be all that hard to envision a pullback here that might test that trend and support area. Breaking below there might raise a little concern. We might run into this support area in the chart, but giving up that trend and maybe putting in that lower high would be a concern for the market. So watch that carefully. And then if we look at our IWM had a, just kind of a flat day yesterday. We had run up here and we broke out of these all-time highs here in the Russell, but you can see didn't hold it and then ended up pulling back in here to a little bit of price support in the chart. So if we can find some bullishness here today in IWM, then maybe a retest back up here. And of course, with the data we have coming today, every reason to believe we could break out up here to those all-time highs and blue sky above that in the Russell. However, if the bears were to find any kind of inspiration here today, you'll want to note that there is a gap down here that could be filled, and so a reversal down here, we could pull back, maybe fill that gap. It gets a little bit ugly if we have to come all the way back here to support. We might see a little bit of profit taking coming into play if that were the case. So watch that carefully. Now, our VIX continued to pull back yesterday. We continued to ease that pressure in the VIX. And if we continue to see that happening, well, I would suggest this area of price support right in here. You can see that comes back to right in this area, all of these tops across here. We might catch a little bit of price support there. If the bears were to find some inspiration, well, push back up. You can see resistance isn't that far to the upside. If we were to break through there, then we might have a little bit of worry. And certainly the data today could really move us substantially up or down this morning, depending on how much volume there's going to be here this morning. And then, of course, if we take a look at our T20s, well, our T2122 pulled back yesterday, gave us a little relief. This showed us that although we were bullish yesterday, there were more stocks actually pulling back in the New York Stock Exchange, more stocks pulling back than going up. So we had this really strong impression that the markets were just super bullish, with the diamonds and SPY making new record highs. But it really was on the back of mostly just a handful of big tech companies. Now, if we take a look at this, that has given us some hope of an upside move. If we get good data here in the morning on all of these reports, we've opened up some upside opportunity here. So I have a reason to believe that we could see new record highs and a big stretch here going into the holiday. But at the same time, we also have a big downside opportunity if that data were to engage those bears, and if we just have a little bit of a profit-taking pullback as well from this kind of extreme extension here to the upside. So keep an eye on that. If we take a look at our T2108, our T2108 has a little bit of a hook over here. That's giving us that little bit of an impression that, once again, stocks above the 40-day moving average slipped just a little bit yesterday. pulling back despite the fact that we saw new record highs in the markets. So if those bulls can find inspiration, well, we certainly still have room for them to move here to the upside quite a bit here in T2108. You can see we can push up into these areas right here, up toward those 70 areas here. But I tell you, once we reach up here toward those mid 75s, we're in an extreme frothy area here in the market and kind of an overbought condition. So watch that carefully. We're reaching up here really high in these prices. Now, if the bears were to find inspiration, no particular worries unless we really drop hard, but we've got this nice little upside trend going in here. We've got good support levels if those bears decided to pull back. Keeping in mind, as long as we hold above 50%, kind of that psychological level here in the market where we have the majority of stocks above their 40-day, we're in pretty good shape. If we take a look at T2107, same thing there. T2107 came up here, popped through this resistance here in the chart, and then, well, we gave it back up. We pulled back yesterday with a little bit of just a little bit of rest, more stocks falling back below their 200-day, then moving up yesterday. So watch that carefully. If those buyers can find inspiration here today, then that push on through to the upside is certainly possible. And I will remind you all that once we reach back up here toward these mid 65 areas, we are in an extremely overbought situation in T2107, and we'll want to be watching carefully for that potential pullback. Now, that being said, if we do catch a little bit of bearish action here today, I don't know that there's anything major to worry about. We just need a little bit of relief from the constant buying. Pulling back in here, we might find a little support in here. We're well above 50% in that, so bulls are definitely in control, but just watch for that potential pullback. And then our T2101, this helped us out a lot yesterday. We saw a good breadth increase yesterday, and because we saw the big tech stocks out there doing the majority of the lifting, what I'm guessing is that we saw some good corporate buyback activity happening in there yesterday, pushing this up. So breadth is up. We're looking really good here. Bulls are definitely in control. The thing we just have to pay attention to is we are pretty stretched in the short term. And if selling begins, there could be a little bit of a pile on of selling. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. Now, our economic calendar is a busy one. We have jammed basically a whole week of economic reports into today. First off, this morning we've got our mortgage applications coming in. We'll want to be keeping an eye on those mortgage applications this morning. After that, we've got a durable goods order report. This is definitely a market moving report, and you can see what they're suggesting is quite an improvement here from a negative 0.8 on the durable goods to a 0.5. So watch that closely. Transportation in here, they're looking at a 0.2, looking for that to decline. So watch carefully there. If we take a look, we've got a GDP number. We know this is a market moving report. Right now they're suggesting our GDP remains flat in here. It's kind of like we're not really sure what's going to happen, so let's just use last month's numbers. Looking for everything to just stay flat. So watch this. Anything above that, these numbers, look for the market to celebrate. Anything below that, there might be a little bit of bearish activity coming in. We have international trading goods. They're looking for a negative $104 billion. That's an improvement from the negative 108, but watch that closely here this morning as well. Also a market moving number. And then we've got jobless claims, and of course we know how those jobless claims can move the market. Right now they're looking for 217,000 jobs. Watch that that closely. Remember last week we had a big build in initial claims, so keep an eye on those initial claims numbers here later this morning as well. We're going to get corporate profits. We've got retail inventories. We've got a consensus here on wholesale inventories looking for a 0.0. That's up from a negative 0.1, so keep an eye on that. Chicago PMI number will be in here, 44.2. That is an improvement from 41.6, but remember, anything below 50 is still showing our PMI in contraction. If we take a look at personal incomes and outlays, our Fed's favorite number, you'll notice in here we've got consensus suggesting it will be flat month over month on that number, that we're expecting to see consumption decline by 1/10 from a 0.5 to a 0.4. PCE price index month over month staying flat at 2 year over year, going up to 2.3 from a year ago, so watch that closely. We've got PCE index, we've got a 0.3 on that staying flat, and just a 1/10 increase on the year over year to 2.8. Just keep in mind, this is a very volatile number and could really create some action in the market, so watch that closely. Same time, we're going to get housing sales numbers in here. They're looking for a decline here from 7.4 to a negative 1.8. Probably not a major surprise, just simply because we have been seeing those rates go up and maybe a little bit of pressure put on those home sales. Petroleum status numbers. After that, we've got some bond auctions and a natural gas report that will be coming up. Remember, once we get through the bulk of these numbers, watch for the volume to just drop like a rock. Everyone will be heading out to grandma's house for the holidays, and so watch those volume numbers. They will sink pretty quickly. For the right way options, folks, just remember there is no activity in our rooms. We will be closed on Thursday, and of course there will be no morning market prep video. We're going to have our trading rooms open on Friday, but there will be no moderators there, meaning that I'm taking the day off, and there will also be no morning market prep on Friday, so kind of keep that in mind for that short day on Friday. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar here for today. And our earnings, we've got a few reports to be paying attention to, but a very few that are notable this morning. PDCO will be reporting this morning. That's the only notable I have for this morning. And this afternoon, we're going to hear from Kroger. Kroger will be reporting, and ZUMZ will be reporting as well. So kind of keep that in mind. Those are the only notables here for today. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you guys could do me that favor, click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you could do me that favor, click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel a lot. Thank you so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at a few of these stocks that could be setting up. Remember, everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence and be very, very careful in this market, particularly with the thought process with all of the data that we have coming this morning. We could have some extreme volatility, and then we could see volume declining very quickly. So just be very, very careful here. Let's take a look. First, I put a new alert on DKNG. This is a nice little resting consolidation in here on this chart, moving out to trend. Any bullishness in the market that fires this up, I could easily see this pushing on higher. So keep an eye on DKNG. Still keeping an eye here on Valero, just because it's pulled back the last couple of days doesn't worry me all that much, as long as we can kind of hold this price support. But it's close to falling off that cliff here, and we certainly saw some of those fall off of that cliff yesterday. FANG breaking down, and this one will be, I'll be watching this for a short now. Any rally back, I'll be watching this for a short. It's certainly not a long at the moment, so keep an eye on that. Let's take a look at Intel. Intel had a pretty rough pullback yesterday and breaking some support, but we're still holding in here on trend, so I'd keep an eye on that. As long as those bulls, if we can get some inspiration here today and some then we might push this right back up in that chart. Breaking down below here, of course, that's a game changer for Intel. Let's take a look at some of our big tech here. Amazon had a really good day yesterday, pushing up substantially. I think any little resting consolidation in here after holding on to this trend would set up a pretty good entry point potentially into Amazon. Of course, we do have to watch that possibility in here that we could run into this resistance, find some sellers, and then that ends up creating a lower high. So watch this one closely. It really needs to put in a bullish pattern. This stretch up can just be that head fake that could come in the market. That's why we wait for that little resting pullback in here to see if it's going to hold, and then see those buyers step on through. So watch carefully there on Amazon. I can't say the same for things like AMD. AMD tried to get something going yesterday. Bearish engulfing candle coming in on AMD, and I still think this sets up for that short to the downside, so keep an eye on that. Take a look at Bumble. Bumble continues to look good in here, had a great big pop in there, and then pulled a lot of that back yesterday. But watch that carefully. If that holds in this area here, I think there is some opportunity for that to play on through to the upside. I think that's worth keeping a pretty close eye on. Home Depot breaking through resistance here in the chart. I think any resting consolidation in here to come back and engage this trend sets up the next opportunity in there. Also, we continue to see, I mentioned yesterday, maybe a little bit of rotation into kind of some safety plays in the market. First off, take a look at utilities. XLU, quite strong in here, breaking through some resistance here to the upside, as you can see. A new breakout here in XLU. Any rest consolidation in here would set up maybe an opportunity to the upside. Be careful here, watching for that rest, but it is interesting that we are showing quite a little bit of bullishness here in these pushes to the upside. So watch that. Watch that carefully here in kind of just a real defensive area of the market where we're looking for good dividend yields in the market. And of course, utilities enjoying quite the rally just simply because we're running out of power with all these data centers and AI, and utilities are enjoying quite a demand situation here. You might also want to be keeping an eye on some of the individuals. Take a look at NEE. NEE is starting to pop back up in here. Had quite a decline, but now we've broken this downtrend, broken through resistance here in the chart. Any rest or pullback would set up an opportunity there, so keep an eye. Again, those utilities looking good. You might want to take a look at telecoms. Take a look at AT&T. AT&T hanging in here, a beautiful, nice consolidation. If I extend this trend up here, we're getting closer and closer to that potential trend. Watch that closely. Again, it's not in the defensive sector area, but it is one of those old, boring, big dividend payers, and we're seeing quite a little bit of interest in them right now. So keep an eye on AT&T. Verizon has had quite a run here to the upside. Any rest or pullback, I think, might have an opportunity there. TMUS in there, really showing some strength, breaking through some resistance. So we're liking those telecoms, and we're liking anything that has a pretty good dividend on it at the moment. Consider things like Campbell's Soup breaking through this downtrend here. Old boring stocks all of a sudden finding some life, and that's why I think there may be a little bit of a rotation starting here, a little move to a little bit of safety, and that's just because I think we are so overbaked here in our indexes that even the indexes are looking for a little bit of safety in case the market starts to pull back. So watch that carefully here on CPB. You can look at things like, Coke making that move back up, PepsiCo making a move back up. We saw Colgate making a move back up. So quite a few stocks in that defensive sector area getting a nice little push to the upside. Keep a close eye on those. If we take a look to that oil sector here, XLE, well, pretty strong pullback here yesterday, but we're still holding in a really good pattern. Little resting consolidation in here wouldn't hurt at all. I don't think this will be ready to go at all today, but watch that carefully. And another area that has just been really darn nice is our financials. XLF just really pushing here to the upside, showing lots and lots of strength. So take a look at any of the big banks, take a look at any of the pay systems like Visa, SQ, PayPal, all showing bullish patterns here in the market. So there's quite a few stocks for you to pay attention to. I want to thank everybody for being here this morning, watching the video. Thank you for the kind support. And I want to wish you all a very profitable day. And more importantly, have a wonderful holiday with your family. Hope everyone travels safe. And I will see you right back here bright and early next Monday morning. Take care, everyone. I wish you all the best and happy Thanksgiving.